today.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, let's try that.
Yes. Tea is a very new thing for me, as in enjoying it so much, because I have always looked for the taste of tea that people say exists. And sorry, supermarket bought teas, and they just don't cut it for me. Like, tea became a big thing, and there's all these specialty tea shops, etc., right? But something about tea misses the point of it. Until I got to you. Whatever that. I mean, until we came into each other's life. And your tea hits the palate where I need it to.
So that means you've tasted this tea before, and you remember the taste of the tea.
Oh, I must have. But I'm talking about, okay, when we'd go to, say, villages in Fiji.
Yeah.
And yesterday I said to you when I drank this, that it reminds me, I feel like I should be drinking it out of a bowl, a piala.
Yeah.
You know, because it's got that, it hits the palate everywhere. And I have spent decades trying to replicate, not very much replicate, because just, going to the supermarket and seeing if there's any tea bags, any teas.
Have you had tea in India?
Yes.
What's that like?
Well, mostly it's, I ask for masala chai there.
Right.
And chai. Chai is, so I don't know if this is chai.
Yeah.
And everyone likes to say about their chai, but it's usually too milked.
Yeah. It's made differently. So the milk is added to the tea,
Yes.
mixed and everything. And there's so many other different spices in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So chai is different. And I love chai, but I just want a tea that hits all parts of my tongue and my throat and my palate. And for some reason, darling, and maybe it's because it's the maker. I don't know. But it needs to satisfy. It's that and maybe I just haven't had the palate for tea until you. I love coffee. Oh, well, I loved, and I hardly drink coffee now. Although I do, of course, love your coffee.
Well, when we met, you drank decaf.
Yes, I drank decaf. That's right. I've completely forgotten about that because
So you used to drink coffee quite a bit, right?
strong black, no sugar.
But decaf.
But decaf, I had to turn to decaf, and I do think that this is something that most people have suffer from. And this is talking. When did we talk about it on? Did we talk about it here? Or did we talk about it on Insta before we moved here? About how people eat, how people are refueling themselves.
Yeah, I think.
On YouTube? Was that our first episode? Oh, there you go. And people are not fueling themselves in the correct order. Yeah. And this sounds like the words sound like that there is only one way to do things, but perhaps there is. But again, like saying things like, not everybody, people, we do need sleep, but does everyone need that amount of sleep? I think the older you get, you do. But anyway, going back to the coffee, why I had to drink decaf, it was not because coffee would make me jittery and I wouldn't be able to sleep. It's because coffee would make me pass out. It got to that point where I was overstimulated. Yeah. My adrenal glands were overstimulated and I had an excess of cortisol. Now we have all the language and conversation about it, about how cortisol is streaming through all our veins, not just, we're watching it streaming and getting in a constant state of stimulation. Everything around us is a constant state of stimulation. 60 seconds. In 60 seconds, you've got to have entertainment and education and wit and wisdom. Yeah. Apart from entertainment, everything else was in inverted commas. In 60 seconds, you've got to, convey all of that, and your creativity, etc., which is becoming more and more the platform's creativity. People are using the tools the platform provides to appear creative. Even creative people have to use it. I find that not problematic because in some ways we do need to talk about AI separately, but I still need to keep on the decaf and what I'm talking about here. We are overstimulated, and this happened to me 15 years ago and coincided with that skin condition that I developed, which I absolutely lived with, and it just made me appreciate my health, the skin I could see in between, better. So anyway, I was then unable to eat fruit. Fruit, again, the fallacy is that we've got to eat fruit every day. Fruit is loaded with sugar. Sure, it's loaded with fiber and minerals and nutrients that we do need. You know, potassium, magnesium, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
However, it's also loaded with fructose. And fructose, in a body that is not regulated, is pure sugar. And most food things that we buy from supermarkets and restaurants, etc., are loaded with sugar. That is what creates the hook. Fast food, you know, bread, everything has got sugar in it. People have stopped using salt for the proper reasons. Now salt is the enemy, you know, etc.
Has been for a while.
Yes, you use salt. You're an alchemist. This is why viewers would love you to watch The Feed, which is our cooking show and food for thought at the same time. And you should by now see, or will see, or have seen, the first episodes of The Feed on our channel here. But because the way you use salt, now everyone had that Salt Bay guy trended because, or whatever he was doing. It's like gimmicky, yeah, but I mean, he's a flamboyant chef. Chefs tend to be entertainers. But you don't do. I love the way you would cook your steaks and just throw the salt, and it's just magic to me. It's alchemy, and salt really was that thing that just preserved everything. And salt tends to prick the flesh or the skin of everything that it's added to, so it makes the actual subject of the dish come alive.
That's interesting. Salt brings water out.
Okay, sure.
So meat, everything, vegetables. So as soon as I add salt to something, the water starts to come out of whatever is in.
And that, unfortunately, is the problem with humans as well. Yeah. So more salt, less water is not a good thing for human beings. Yeah. So this is why. But salt has to be. But we eat also far too much salt. There's far too much salt in all the processed shit.
Sugar as well.
And sugar. It's just a very bad quantities of both. Sugar is delightful. I'm a sweet tooth.
Yeah, and I found working in restaurants as well, they use a lot of sugar in stuff, sauces. And food is loaded with sugar.
Because that's what creates the hook in the mind. And people go, oh, this is delicious, because sugar is vampiric in its own sense.
Yeah, and when you cook with it, it makes flavor pop.
Yeah.
So I understand the use of it in some things, but it's not necessary.
No, it isn't. Most food, most raw food have enough of it in itself, But salt, when used the way you do, for me it creates it's like putting needles into each, into say meat, right?
Yeah.
Into vegetables, into whatever you're using it for, putting needles all over it, and that's leaches out the moisture, leaves, but not the leaches out excess moisture and draws it out. Yes. And leaves what is required. Otherwise, it's all.
Yeah, well, cool.
I feel. I don't know. And I've got to sneeze while we're at it.
Yeah.
It's all the activity. Dust is really just skin cells.
How lovely.
Gross! When I found that out, I think I was in my teens, and that's why from my teens, when I started traveling, I've been traveling since the age of 0, but in planes, all I've thought is, oh my God, everybody's skin cells are settling on me right now. And this is why, and I'm glad you're like this as well. If I've traveled off a plane, I've got to take those clothes off straight away, And this isn't just a pandemic thing. For me, it's always been that way.
Yeah, sure.
I can't, because I just feel I have these visuals of with dead skin cells on me. It's like, I was talking about salt. We were talking about coffee and decaf, why I had to drink decaf. And that's because if I drank it doesn't matter what time, if I drank, say, if I could drink a double espresso and I'd pass out. I'd pass out because overstimulation, I was overstimulated. We were all overstimulated. My overstimulation came from the fact that most of my life I have only slept maximum 4 hours, and for periods of time in my teens and 20s, I could go without sleep for 2 weeks at a time. I trained myself to, thinking I was doing fantastic, not realizing that I was actually depleting my body of rejuvenation time.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Thinking that I'm making the most of, because again, I thought that sleep was boring, and also when you're traumatized, sleep is a hard-won thing. It's not something that...
It's hard to sleep? Is that what you mean?
Or it's hard to quiet the mind.
Okay.
So you either pass out sleep, so you've got to sleep. This is why people utilize a few things. Like, I've been reading a lot about the effects of childhood trauma on adults. Quite a lot of it I identify with, except substance abuse. Because...
you are not that.
I'm definitely not that. But people, but pretty much everything I read about it says that, it's quite a common trait. So much so that it's almost like the exact symptom of what would happen with childhood trauma. That someone, so I'm getting to the substance abuse thing. Maybe shoes.
Okay, well, yeah.
But no, shopping becomes a way to fill. But substance abuse in terms of alcohol and drugs, etc. Because I never sought oblivion. I used information.
Yeah.
So something that you say, because okay, I'm going to say something here. We had actually started one, and I deleted it because Duane was saying these wonderful, wonderful things about me, about where he gets his information from, etc. Because I'm a font of information, and I was like, darling. Well, I was a bit like weirded out, like thinking that people might think that you're just saying that. I get really quiet. I get shy about it and awkward about that. It was like, well, you're my husband, and of course you're going to think this way about me,
Well, I was just saying that I get most of my obscure news, like news that people don't read all the time, from you. I read my news.
I know, but you know things, and you tell me things, and like, okay.
Yeah, so, but mine's more like on the ground news.
Nah, it's all news. It's all news. That's literally on the ground news, rugby, but that's all news. Hang on, let me just see what's happening here. Ooh, oh, bright. All right, friends, we're just going to chill out here. So, decaf. Yeah, so I had to drink decaf. I couldn't eat fruit for 15 years. My body was trying to tell me something, and it isn't.
When we met you.
Yep. It was so upsetting being in.
We used to go to the market.
Yeah, to film.
Mangoes,
yes, pineapple. Remember the heaps.
I felt so bad.
Oh, I felt so bad. I could not eat fruit. Yes, of course, my darling. So, it took a long time for me to. I had to, cut everything out, and for a long time I just accepted that this is what it was going to be. But my body, now that mind, body, soul, skin, heart, stomach, genitals, all the brains that make us who we are, now that they're all regulated, I can eat fruit.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
I can drink coffee sparingly, like, too much coffee really is not good for anyone. It's just amazing, and that's from a woman's point of view, that's trust. That all of a sudden everything can just stop being on alert.
Wow. Shit, that's insane.
Yeah, I do need to talk about that quite in depth separately. I might talk about that on our podcast, Radio Fly. And also but here too, because I want to show photographs of what happened to my skin, etc., and how that, you know, I couldn't. And every time I would eat fruit, I would pass out. Every time I would drink coffee, I would pass out, and I'd start seeing the correlation. Like, oh my gosh! And I realized I was, because I've been in a constant state of trauma suppression most of my, first half of my century. And so now, though, it's very, very different. But I'm now viewing sleep differently. And you've always, sleep has been a very integral part of your life. And, you value sleep. But you are one of the few people I know who can be present, truly present. Because there's this thing, particularly women ask men, what are you thinking about? And when men say nothing, sometimes they're hiding thoughts that they shouldn't, but in certain instances, when they say nothing, they literally mean nothing. And wow, what an incredible way to be. What an incredible way to be, because that's why you're so ready. Because it's like, all right, let's go into it. You're ready. You don't need time to, gear up to something, because it's a very meditative state to be in. And that's what we're supposed to be in. We're supposed to be in a state of it's not an emptiness. It's just a stillness. It's a present dayness. It's being in the moment, not dwelling about the past or worrying about the future. You can't control either. You can't change the past. You can't control the future. You can only be in charge of your present moment. And that's something very few people know, and something I have now experienced. And you are absolutely just, I needed a guru. And, we are each other's everything. Yeah. I did need my companion. I needed my best friend and a companion and lover and everything in one.
So did I.
And
I didn't even know it.
And the healing began from that. Now, I'm not saying that is what you need, dear viewer. Some people want that companionship. People want companionship. And anyone who says they want to be alone is out of hurt. Human beings are not a species that was evolved to be alone. Our whole point was to procreate to propagate, come together for unity, common unity, community. And the whole point of us is to be custodians of this planet. I don't know, children became ego, immortality, legacy, rather than passing on the custodianship of this life. Going back to decaf though. So yes, I had to drink decaf so in order not to pass out. Everyone is overstimulated. Everybody drinks the wrong things. Everyone, the health things are all very gimmicky, etc., etc. Everything in moderation. Everything was given for a purpose, for a reason. There is no reason why you can't have, fruit and chocolate and all of that, and breads, etc. But
well, that's why everything's in season, right?
Yes. Oh wow. Yeah. Wow.
I mean, you got lemons all year round.
Now, yeah, yeah.
But
we want lemons on demand. It's kind of nice.
It's nice.
It's nice to have lemons on.
I mean, naturally, everything's in season.
That's very in keeping with what I had thought when I was listening. If you can hear background noise, it's the leaf, all the maintenance people. Because it's daytime, they've got to do their work. They're just doing a job. And Duane and I were watching them do their job, and we both said, go back to raking. They should be raking. And Duane said, well, takes more time, learn more money. But I think that's it's gone. People want, the bosses want the jobs done as quick as possible so that they can say, we get the job done in 2 minutes. Yeah. And that's so they get more work, more profit. But the workers don't necessarily have that. So instead of spending a day at each complex, truly, raking, gathering, it's all done in rush. So all these machines, etc. which were supposed to be aids to aid us, you know.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, like with the lemons thing, is that evolution then?
Then that's another question.
Same thing with this, you know?
But we're seeing what's happened with the evolution of machines that was something so magical, so wonderful, to help, to assist human beings in their jobs, so that it's not backbreaking work to, you know, constantly be in the, you know, on the farms, that you can now use tractors and from plow, you know, the plow came first, you know, to help human beings so on cows, cattle were used, you know, all the things, to then becoming electric things, which were like even better for people. But we've got far too many people in the world, as something you know have pointed out, and with that became a need to make things easier, because it was supposed to be so people can enjoy life more. But now it's who's enjoying life? People are still toiling. So going back to the raking thing and technology and lemons, you know, it's almost like now we have to go back to the slow burn to really reconnect with ourselves. The act of raking a yard is slow, right? And it makes you think. It's a methodical thing that actually does something to the mind. I mean, well, the Japanese have their sensory gardens, their Zen gardens. And of course, everyone has seen those little Zen things you're supposed to put on your desk with sand, and you get a teeny tiny rake to just...
Oh, what?
Oh, you don't know?
No.
Oh, for a while I think it was quite trendy to do this. To have a little Zen garden, at your desk with a little fountain, teeny tiny rake, which you'd love, darling.
Oh my God. Man, I was like, what?
And then you rake, and it's supposed to just help focus your mind.
Right, sure.
You know, and this is what I used laundry for. Well, I still use laundry for that. And I had mentioned to you ages ago when we were having one of our conversations about how if I've got writer's block, I go to the linen closet, or I rearrange my wardrobe, or I iron. And ironing is a nice way for me to smooth out the wrinkles in my mind. And I always, so all these actions help reconnect us with something. I mean, gosh, I don't wish to go back to certain old times. I really don't want to get that heavy old iron and heat it on something and then put it on. Oh my gosh, no.
Old ones, you had a lid that you put coal in. Hot.
Damn!
And you close it, and that what heats it up.
Now they're used as doorstops.
To raking, right? So as a kid, it was a chore.
Of course.
Hated it.
Absolutely, yes.
Just hated it.
Yeah.
So there was someone who thought, this sucks. I'm going to make something to make this easier.
Yeah.
Somebody did that.
Yeah.
Because it's a pain in the ass, raking. After raking, you got blisters on your hands,
sure.
you know?
Yeah, I romanticized it a bit.
As a kid, you just want to go and play. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I'm doing it really quickly. It's no zen in it. There's just none of that. It's like, I need to do this because I want to go and play.
Absolutely. Because children are supposed to play, but all of these things, like school is not so much about education as it is about commitment and focus. You know, education, well, is that's a different thing. Education is important, but it is not necessarily out of a curriculum. It is not necessarily from a construct, a Eurostream constructs institutions qualifications. We know plenty of stupid lawyers. Gosh, it's all about focus. So maybe adults should have been doing the raking anyway, because adults are the ones who need to slow down again, kind of thing.
That's why you have kids, so they can do the chores.
Yeah, nah. Again, I think children...
I know.
Look, you can't unravel the world's problems by just talking about things from 10 years ago,
But it's supposed to teach the child something. Discipline,
okay, we're going to go with Karate Kid. Yeah. Wax on, wax off.
Yeah, so teach...
something.
Stillness.
Yes, stillness, about being in the moment. But children, I mean, perhaps before it was, but
You know, in Japan, the schools, they don't have exams till like after grade 4 or something. All grade 1 to 4, children are learning about life, how to be, they clean the schools, they're disciplined in just living.
darling, Japan is one of the highest rates of suicide, so something's gone wrong somewhere. They have
Sure.
all of it, all of the lessons, all of the stillness, but the need to get ahead.
Yeah, but what's that clash coming from, you know?
It's competition
Sure, oh yeah, okay.
between borders, between countries, between segregating the class. There's constant state of competition. We all live in a state of competition. Yesterday, or the day, when was I talking about how physicality is competition now?
Yeah.
Everyone must, and then this whole thing of you can't judge a book by the cover. Yeah. I've realized because on our feed, I very rarely put the issues that we talk about, etc., especially the topical current affairs issues of war and colonization and genocide and oppression and suppression and murder, downright murder that's happening, and the exploitation. We talk about all of this all the time. And unfortunately, the platform that we were originally on, Instagram, well, it likes to punish us for things like that. So I got shadow banned. I have been, my comments get deleted. I get suspended from making comments. So on my feed, darling, for the covers of our lives, I never put really, but they're all subtle. But I see there's a lot of people who've jumped on bandwagons here who are looking down their nose because their feeds are full of their virtue signaling is what I think they're doing. I understand now about virtue signaling because back when George Floyd was murdered, and my gosh, Euros still say he wasn't murdered, he died of a drug overdose, he was a thug, he was a whatever. Like, mate, I really hope this shit doesn't happen to you, because what is going to happen to you? Anyway, let's not even go there. So, but people were starting to put the black squares, and I had put a black square on my feed too to show solidarity. But it's kind of tokenistic.
Sure.
It's that whole thing. It's the draw card coming. But then what? Then it's and I read a few things because of black people did start that, and I read further about what it actually means for them. And it's the same thing as, and I'm going to go here with this one, the whole welcome to country, acknowledgement of country. Not welcome to country. Welcome to country is done by elders of First Nations, people. But acknowledgement of country is done by non-First Nations people. And I think it's all for show. No one's doing it on a weekly basis in their office on Monday morning when people enter the offices. Let smoking ceremony on sacred land. It's only for tokenistic stuff like at Australian Fashion Week. All of a sudden, 2 years ago, they had acknowledgement of ceremony, of country, welcome to country. Events like Pacific Runway have been doing that for a long, long time. Now, because it's trending, all of a sudden, Australian Fashion Week is doing it.
Sure.
And now it's all done, and now acknowledgement of country is seen as something to do. So really, we should be saying it.
Before.
Yes,
right.
But I'm not going to do that because I find it tokenistic. I do it with action.
Yeah.
I do it with constantly talking about it. Because they'll say acknowledgement of country and then forget about everything.
Yeah, sure.
People will say acknowledgement of country, have optics, have First Nations people, white passing First Nations people as their models, and behind the scenes, Oraton, Country Road,
Yeah, so they do it and then, okay, cool.
That's it. Diversity done?
Yeah, let's go.
Go.
Carry on with the shit.
So, but I'm also seeing this in people who are, I look at what they're doing now and I think, were you not aware that that Palestine has been under this oppressive siege for 75 years? Now you're talking about these things? I don't get it. But I mean, I do get it because there are people who are unaware. But now it's getting to be. It's more than just a conflict in the Middle East. It's more than that. Now, surely, surely by now, even if you're not into any of this, even if you think it's a religious war, which I did 35 years ago when I first found out about it, I was 19, you know, it's the genocide now that is horrific.
Yeah.
And now what I am seeing is that this constant posting of it is just making people go, ugh, no more, please. And that doom scroll that is happening. We get stuck into, the hooks get put into, and we scroll. But what is happening is, it's not immunity. What is it? It's just this, all of a sudden, you see something more and more, your brain, your overstimulated brain starts to make it normal. It normalizes it. And then now I realized something was happening because I was reading the news. Regular viewers know I'm a voracious news hound. And, you know, but I was reading the news late at night, first thing in the morning, you know, seeing children with, you know, no heads and their spines or their nerves sticking out of where their heads were. And I still, you know, oof. So I had to really step back. I had to really just not, but that doesn't mean not knowing it. You can't stick your head in the sand. Emus don't even do that. That's where that, you know, whole, you're an emu kind of thing. But I do feel, and I don't know how this is going to change and because people still need to be informed. People still need to share this. People still need to say, I stand in solidarity with humanity. Because apparently, on most platforms, standing with humanity is against community standards. That's what I get told when my comments get deleted, when I get shadow banned, and when I get suspended because I've talked about colonization, genocide, oppression, slavery. Anyway, gosh. But constantly now seeing it, people are just skimming past, like going, or like, oh, it's still going. And the question is, when is it going to end? And if it didn't end 75 years ago.
Yeah, wow. Oof, that's rough.
I mean, that's a question you have asked.
Still happening.
So why is it still going? 40 years ago, we were used to seeing the ads, help, blah, 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 help this child. It was the Ethiopian famine. Yeah. It's one thing after the other. One thing after the other.
And it's still in those countries still happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And it's like, why is this still, how long is it going to take for this to end?
Well, that's the question, because most of us know, but before it was the domain of conspiracy theorists, right? But it all came from somewhere. It's just that conspiracy theorists settle into their comfort zone narrative and they don't take it further. But there is something definitely behind every conspiracy theory, and so many have been proven to be true.
Yeah, wow.
You know, so like it just takes time. But also, conspiracy theorists start going crazy with it. Yeah. They start going a bit too, you know, like, okay, come back into logic. You lost me at your whatever. Again, having said that, for those of you who are new to our things, we are people of science. We think practically. We are pro-medicine, pro-science, but we believe in magic. I am very much absolutely, it's not a belief system. For me, the knowledge of astrology is a science. It's a philosophy, it's a psychology, and I talk a lot about that. So I do understand visionary leaps of faith and things, as well as understanding the invisibility that, you know, like the atoms, the things we can't see that exist.
That's the magic.
Yeah, yes. Spirituality exists. And the people who want to gain from all of this, they're keeping it all happening. It's because I will tell you now, the genociders are getting off on how much power they have, because despite the world constantly, despite now for 75 years, despite now for decades of people knowing how problematic it all is, they're still there. They're still doing it. Now they're blatant. Now the leader of the colonizers in the Middle East, the leader of the genociders, blatantly says, we will not stop till we get out, whatever. And it's like, it's not your land, but this Euro way of thinking that whatever they go and conquer, because let's not forget this one very crucial thing. They're not Middle Eastern. They're ex-Europeans. They're European refugees that the UK and US did not want, but decided that they wanted a base in the Middle East. All right. Why did they not want these displaced refugees who had terrible, terrible, heinous things done to them? Because of what? Religion? I got sent, forwarded a wonderful post. Tradition. Peer pressure by dead people.
Yep.
We were talking about tradition the other day.
Right.
Tradition needs to change with the times. Tradition is something that should be taken from generation to generation and see how it's relevant for the times. But instead, old people, and hey, I'm a Gen Xer, I'm in my 50s, so I guess, we want tradition to be a certain way. I will be like, no, that's not how it's done. It should be done this way. Shut up. Me, I'm telling myself. There's lots of things each generation is not going to like about the current generation. And what is the current generation? How do we decide what the current generation is? Is it the 20s that is the generation? Are they the generation of the times? When does that define? So is Generation Z right now, are they going to then become I got to tell you, whatever's coming up, I'm not so sure about Generation Alpha. I thought they might be the saviors, but I'm seeing that children now are still buying. Oh gosh, look, I don't know. So Generation B, Beta, because Generation Alpha is always going to be a slave to what the Beta needs. Generation Alpha is not autonomous. They think they are. But anyone who describes themselves as an alpha personality is like, oh, mate, you need validation, huh? Okay. I don't know. It's, but generations to come will look at the current generation and go, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened? And I don't blame Generation Z for being the way they are, because holy cow, I don't know what happened. But I'm seeing more and more how people perpetuate it all. Like women defending their right to have filters and fillers because it's our right. For what? For whom? A doctor, an educated woman saying that she thinks she's doing a great civic service for other people of color. And I had mentioned this yesterday, from when I was talking about this, young woman who got all sorts of things done to her face so she could look like a Euro white person. Because of the nose and whatever, and everybody now wants all of this, things that were just part of someone's DNA. And then, as I had said yesterday, beauty is given as a draw card for something else. It is not the sole purpose. Usually if it is, it's because that person, it's because of the times and how beauty has been treated as a commodity, as something to own, as something to trade, rather than using it as a draw card for your other skills, or as a skill itself. Beauty is a skill. And this is why the danger is, with all this artifice, people still remain ugly within their minds. Or, they still require a visual thing to get self-value. They need validation. Anyway, that's all of this. We're talking about decaf.
That's right.
It's like, maybe I should get... No, I refuse to. I refuse to be on decaf anymore because caffeine was knocking me out. And now caffeine is used... I drink wonderful Arabic spiced coffee that my darling brews on the weekends because, now I don't want to drink coffee every day. I look forward to it, the aroma. But you put cloves and cardamom, you brew it in our kettle from Oman. Anyway, I was talking about the black squares. So I had I took it off because I realized no. I'm not going to entice people. I have to put my activism in me. And it's wonderful. I do show. I wear things that convey the message because fashion is a language. By the way, I will be. Stay tuned. I am doing online fashion workshops, and sorry, the microwave has to heat. That's the only reason why we use the microwave because. I will be doing fashion workshops soon, so please stay tuned for that. I will let you know. But today is Monday. I haven't actually said that. Today is Monday, February 26th, 2024. It's still February. We're going, oh my gosh, this is just the longest month in the whole year. And considering it is the shortest month, even with an extra day this year, because it's a leap year. Anyway. Look, there's a lot to talk about. This is the Daily Egg and it's unedited, it's unscripted. We're probably going to start scheduling it a bit more so that there is a set time, but you don't have to be here live. I like to do things live because I'm sick and tired of the processed crap that passes off as reality TV. And you need to hear the reality and the truth and the facts of things. We all do, but we're getting edited information. We're getting edited news. We're getting scripted things, scripted news, scripted views, scripted information. And I'm not here for that. We're not here for that.
It's all artificial.
It's all artificial. It's not even intelligence. Ah, my goodness. It should really be assistance intelligence because creatives could do with some of that. It's hard being creatives and having to work oh gosh, all artists know, unless of course you're of a privileged stream, that's there. You've got to work at something else so that you can do your art, do your actual work that you were born to do. Everyone benefits off art. Everyone goes, oh, I love it. During pandemic lockdown times, everyone turns to art. And yet art is the one thing that gets cut first from government budgets. It's the thing that people think that they can haggle over with you. It's like, you're haggling with my DNA and my value. It's, anyway. But my friends, I guess it's that time of day. And what time of day is that? Well, we've restructured this because this is the Lives of Our Days and the Daily Egg. And today it's a bit of a fancy egg because we usually do this on a Sunday. I felt like poached eggs on Duane's wonderful scones. And with that, my friends, we will bid you farewell for today because as I've said, we've changed the structure. And now, because this is a very simple reason why. I don't want to eat cold toast and cold egg anymore. And also I don't want to eat while I'm talking. I want to be mindful and I want to actually enjoy the food that is we should all be grateful for, and praying and thanks, all of that. Yeah, it comes under all of that, but really it's just a very simple thing. I am grateful that I'm born to a world that gives us such beautiful things.
Food should be meditation.
And we will talk about that tomorrow because food is meditation. All right, thank you very much for being here. We will see you tomorrow on the Daily Egg. Bye.